All right, we are live.
I eat 100 chicken nuggets a day at the Beijing Olympics. I think 1,000 chicken nuggets, and then you won a couple gold medals.
You might think elite athletes have the healthiest diets in the world, or that they don't care and can get away with anything. But the truth might surprise you.
Everybody that's ever been close to LeBron has said how shitty of a diet he has. He eats cookies, he eats everything.
But what looks unhealthy is often consumed by athletes to optimize performance.
If you want to be able to perform the best, no matter what you're doing, you have to be able to have nutritious foods.
But with rumours, advertising, and crazy headlines,
it might be quicker to talk about the things that aren't misconceptions.
Good nutrition is at the core of high performance.
So good.
insane body transformations, world records, and crazy longevity.
From what I know and from what I read a lot about it, is just more food than gym.
To make sense of it all, I spoke to the coach to the...
All right. Most of us look at athletes as the superstars, the top of the top, because who wouldn't like to live an athletic life? So let's say, for example, not only that you get in the best facilities, the best everything out of everything is going to be the best for you, and you get paid to play, to be engaged into a sport that you actually love doing. And you get to travel around the world, you get to meet different players, different top performing people. And at the same time, you get access to all food types. But the majority of the time, we might think that athletes are healthy or they practice all form of healthy activities. But that's not always the case, because sometimes what tends to happen is that athletes can seem to be eating food that are unhealthy for them, but they do it for a reason. Because just like we don't have the same lifestyle as an athlete, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that we can actually admire from them, because not only the dedication, the hard work, and the discipline it takes to actually be an athlete, to be pushing yourself to the ultimate limit, because not to forget that you are competing with someone else or a different team that are doing, if not the same thing that you are doing in a high level, but they're also pushing themselves in a higher level. So athletes are looked at as somewhat the golden rule of what we should strive for or who we should be. But it's not always what it seems. And sometimes athletes, they do perform unhealthy action, because at the end of the day, we tend to forget or get away from what is actually the reality of things, which is athletes are just people just like us. So in this reaction, in this video, we're gonna be studying or just having a closer look of the life of athletes. Your favorite athletes could be named in this video, and we're gonna see the different activities, the different food that we eat, well, rather that they eat, that most of us would find as basically a no-go and unhealthy for us. But for sure, remember, they have a different lifestyle than us. So we cannot expect everything. It's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to nutrition, and we cannot, even lifestyle choices, and we cannot always follow them. But if you are an athlete, these things you can somewhat use for yourself. But remember, again, competing in a high level like this, these people, their entire lives are surrounded at being and peak performance and such. You already know. So we're gonna react to this, and we're gonna actually see what we can learn from it, or the things that we can actually take from this and we can apply it to our lives. And it's not only this is not only focused into athletic lifestyle, because I believe that athletic lifestyle is a good lifestyle to have, because when it comes to, it's kind of like to say it's complete, it's wholesome. And of course, there will be outliers. There will be people who take it to the furthest, or unhelpful habits that are basically that you wouldn't practice yourself, and we will discover them as well within this video. But all in all, the mindset still remains of pushing yourself as far as you can, and while being disciplined as well, by not injuring yourself or damaging your internal organ, because as athletes, your body is your greatest resource. So basically, you always have to bet on yourself. And like I said, again, you don't have to be an athlete to actually find something that is useful from this. And I believe there's many information that you can use in your personal lifestyle to improve your personal lifestyle, and to, something that you could basically benefit you.
Olympians, the man who wrote the book on peak athletic performance, so we can find out how elite athletes actually eat.
Your diet: 1 cup of coffee, 3 to 4 bags of candy, and 1 meal. Is that true? I don't have time to lie.
Some of the world's best athletes have the most surprising diets.
My uncle told me, man, you disrespectful if you call them Skittles. Say they power pellets.
Marshawn Lynch consumed so many Skittles during games, fans held up signs saying, "Feed him and he'll run." Meanwhile, the NFL's fastest player, the Cheetah, credits his speed to an unexpected pre-game snack.
I feel like this is part of my grandmother's secret recipe for me being so fast. This is Cheetah fuel right here. This right here.
This guy is only muscle made. He's just pure, solid muscle.
Game day fuel.
Lionel Messi once confessed, "I ate badly for years. Chocolates, fizzy drinks, everything. That's why I threw up during games." Meanwhile, Premier League veteran
Messi ate badly for many years, chocolate, fizzy drinks, and everything. So basically, whenever you ever ask somebody, what do you like to eat? They say everything. And that's like almost like saying that I don't choose. They don't have any choices. They didn't make any choices into what they want to put into their body. So that could be seen as, in the face of it, as a good thing, but it also seems like you don't have no, let's say, preference. You just go with whatever. Once it's food, or once you are being told that it's food, then you eat it. But when it comes to Messi,
badly for years. Chocolates, fizzy drinks, everything. That's why I threw up during
that's not
games.
really useful for him. And I guess that's one of the reasons why he had to make lifestyle choices, because if you are playing a game and you have to be throwing up, you can imagine after you don't throw up, you feel different, you feel weaker, and your focus and your intensity, basically his intensity, is not gonna be as it should. So this is one of the reasons why, if you are an athlete, that you could maybe consider using more helpful nutrients that are promoting you. Basically, that's not gonna be a form of a distraction of making you go into the level of puking.
Meanwhile, Premier League veteran Jamie Vardy has a pre-game strategy that sounds like it belongs to an underslept builder.
At 37 years of age now, what is your pre-match diet?
Wake up, Red Bull, get to the stadium for pre-match. It'd be Red Bull and cheese and ham omelette, then maybe have a coffee, back to the dressing room to get ready and start sipping on another Red Bull.
Some athletes believe they are able to perform at their best.
So Red Bull, wake up, Red Bull. And a lot of the time also, what I want to mention, as these athletes, when they are in their athletic life, when they are actually doing the sport before they retire, what tends to happen is they are very highly engaged physically. So a lot of the things that they eat or they consume that are completely unhealthy is for a cause, because they are not, when they are on the field, they have to lose a lot of calories or use a lot of calories to perform the action they actually have to do. So like, for example, this guy, he will take a Red Bull. So beyond, he's playing sport, which is the number one sport that he's playing, football, the number one sport that actually takes away the most amount of calories from the human body. So the sport that burns the most calories is football. So for example, he's gonna actually burn all the calories that he collects from there, and his body is gonna be basically use all of these substance from the Red Bull as fuel.
Not despite their junk food diets, but because of them.
We play a barbaric sport. The immune system in the body needs f***ing practice. You know how you get practice? By eating shit.
Wow.
Eating shit.
What was I?
But the thing is, also, that could be a good way to actually put it, but is also unhelpful. Just like when we were born, you were given how you call it again? Shots, your shots you get from in your arm or in your bum when you're a baby, probably don't remember. And these were somewhat viruses or somewhat things that are just basically supposed to strengthen your immune system, but your immune system is a lot of the time is strengthened with the bad stuff. But it's not always the case, because the immune system, remember, it also have a limit of how much it can actually, what fights it can actually win. And there are some battles that the immune system is going through. And if you keep feeding it the wrong thing, it doesn't have the right fuel to actually be strong enough to win the battle. So just always think the immune system like that. But as well, what he's saying is not for everything. It could be possible that you need to, for the immune system to be stronger, you need to give it the things that you wouldn't eat. So basically what he's eating right now, I think he's drinking a soda, and better classified as a fizzy drink. So that could be something that's gonna help him, but after a while the body is gonna basically get tired of it. And as we grow older, our body is not as strong as it used to be.
Hearing here, I searched the internet for answers, and one name kept popping up: Dr. Mark Bubbs, a top coach to elite athletes. He's the expert when it comes to the science behind their diets. I had to know what he thought about this, and he helped me see through the myths, but more importantly, helped me put this together to help you avoid falling for the mistakes.
Supplementation, in my opinion, is one of the most important things in football.
There's thousands of different sports supplements. Athletes who use them have very different stacks, ranging from the basics to the more questionable.
When people take Viagra, it's a performance enhancer.
Okay. Really? So I'm curious to hear this.
When you horizontally, right? So I take it to help my performance vertically.
And I'm out there going crazy. I'm out there going crazy on the half of Viagra and a little bit of Red Bull, and people like, God damn, I can't stop Ocho for nothing.
Before you take one before the gym.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, a lot of different drugs or methods has been used for that by athletes to actually gain the athletic edge. And remember, again, this is all competition, and just as much as you're in a team, it's also an individual sport, because regardless if you're in a team, you have to be the best or try to be as much as equal to your teammates, so you can have a somewhat a good team spirit. So you need to know your teammates. But he's saying Viagra, and I'm really curious how he did he made that work, because let's not forget Viagra or a lot of different stimulant for how you call them, for men who are experiencing low sex drive, or basically cannot have a proper erection. So it's, remember, the penis or the male's sexual organ is still a muscle, and Viagra is for improving circulation. It's not only for circulation in the male sexual organ, but it's also around all the other muscle group or muscle area that you are specifically gonna use during that time. It's hard to say that during the time that he was using the Viagra, if he was having a hard-on or a boner during the match.
Tons of different sports supplements. Athletes who use them have very different stacks, ranging from
but I'm not sure if he actually said it.
The basics to the more questionable.
When people take Viagra, it's a performance enhancer when you horizontally, right? So I take it to help my performance vertically.
And I'm out there going crazy. I'm out there going crazy on the half of Viagra and a little bit of Red Bull, and people like, God damn, I can't stop Ocho for nothing.
Before you take one before the gym, there's zero evidence this helps, and is more likely to backfire.
Yeah, I'm cramping.
You take anything for the game?
Yeah, Viagra.
That'll make you cramp.
So instead of blindly copying what supplements an athlete uses, it's smarter to choose based on evidence and expert advice.
And don't just remember, he was on the Viagra and was making him cramp. Remember, a lot of these athletes do actually experiment on themselves to find out what actually works for them, even though if it's not scientific or if it's not gonna be beneficial to improve their performance.
So what are some of the most evidence-based supplements for athletes?
You know, vitamin D is really important, and that's one that's easily influenceable with supplementation. So if you live somewhere with a true winter climate, you're going to need to supplement to really get that performance benefit from a recovery standpoint. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Vitamin D is always at the basis or the building blocks, because vitamin D is something that we definitely need our body. Basically, it only makes it from sunlight. If you are in an area of the globe that you don't get enough sunlight, or basically there's no sunlight where you are, you need to take vitamin D3 supplementation, because vitamin D3 is responsible for a lot of different activities in your body. And especially if you want to be an athlete, or you're an athlete, or you're inspired to be as physically healthy or just healthy as an athlete, this is one of the supplements you gotta have in your supplementation regime, or your supplementation your supplementations.
Know that getting above 90 nanomoles per liter is where we're going to get immune benefit. Above 75 nanomoles.
Remember, he said they put here D, vitamin D, but always get the vitamin D3 is the best one that you actually need.
Per liter is where we get satellite cell activity benefits. Omega-3 is another really important one. Ideally above that 8% omega-3 index range, where you're going to get not just benefit for performance, but benefit for things like longevity as well. And a nice one for young athletes or athletes to think about is magnesium. Right, we've got good data now showing
magnesium is really widely spoken about because it's so very much important and our diet. And the reason why we need this supplementation is because one of the reasons is there's multiple reasons, but a few ones I can mention at the top of my head is just, for example, when it comes to the food, all the nutrients, the supplementation is basically what we don't. Supplementation means simply what we don't get, adding what we don't get from our food. So basically we should ideally get all the vitamins and minerals, for example, magnesium right here, we should be getting that in our food. But the food system and the quality of the food system is actually lower and is becoming lower and lower. I don't understand why, because it should be the other way around, right? If you really think about it, everything is advancing. Now there's the iPhone 14s or the 16. Yeah, or basically my main point is that every technology, everything is advancing. There's 2025 now, everything is new, getting better. But why is it that the most important thing that we need to get better is actually going downwards? It's decreasing in value, or not in value, because the price of food is constantly being rising, but the quality of it is actually going down, which is, terrible, because you would expect that at this moment of time, food, I even made a video, I made a stream about it, about why is it that the quality of our food, or the nutrients rather, of the food that we are eating nowadays are getting lower and lower. So it should have been the opposite, the other way around, because not only that we are having better technology, we are making life even easier than it was than in comparison to our parents, our grandparents. But now, even the food quality is not even getting better. Maybe it might be getting better in your area, and that would be really good. If that's the case for you, let me know in the comment where you are, where you live. Maybe it would be some place for me to actually visit to try out the food. But again, back again to supplementation. So the food doesn't have enough supplement, the amount that our body needs. So we need to get extra. We need to add, basically, if this is a level, the normal level of supplements, let's say magnesium, for example, that our body need, and we get this amount in food, well, the normal level, we get this amount in food. So supplementation will be right there in between. So meaning to get supplementation is to put in what we are not getting or what we are missing, or basically put in the body what the body actually needs, basically to have a complete amount of magnesium in our body. And magnesium is one of the most one of the most talked about supplementations or supplements these days. And so the reason why it's important, because you can see focus, it helps with focus, sleep, mood, bones stronger, and also for sleep, muscle function. Let's say, for example, now, earlier we saw Ochocinco, I believe, the athlete who was taking, what he was taking again, Viagra for better performance. What was happening to him is he was having the cramp. So if you're an athlete, or if you find yourself having a lot of cramps, what you could do, it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or a man, or just man, woman, doesn't matter. Magnesium should be one of the supplements that you actually, could use to help your body fight off the cramping.
That athletes require.
And it's a very, they say bones here, but it's very good for muscles. Yeah, it already put it here, muscle function and recovery. Magnesium.
10 to 20% more magnesium than the general population.
It's no surprise why top football clubs provide these for their players, in addition to creatine, which can help with strength and recovery, and caffeine, which can boost energy. But scientists argue that supplements are the least important part of any diet, so completely the opposite of how they're marketed. Even Tom Brady has said that supplements can't replace proper nutrition.
True.
So why can't you replace food with supplements?
When you get certain things from food.
Oh yeah, I was gonna explain it, but let's hear what he's gonna say.
Like if you eat the whole orange, then you're getting all the array of different micronutrients in there, and they do have a synergistic effect. So,
and it's very, very simple reasons why. Very simple reason why is because one is man-made and one is God-made or made by nature, and we are natural beings. As much as we can make, as human beings, we can make devices, we can make technology and all of these things, but the most powerful technology ever created or in the world right now, I would say, is the human body. Is the biggest technology, and everything else, telephone, every other different technology derived in connection to our body. So one is man-made, is not gonna be what the body actually really truly recognize. It's like match made in heaven, sort of, when we call natural. And the unnatural one, the one that is a pill, is basically human made and is not complete. But let's hear what he has to say, the reason why what's the difference between taking the regular vitamin or getting it from food.
This is why you hear a lot about a food first approach, which is part of my.
Okay, so this is when we look at this graph right here, we see on the screen. So this is generally the case. It's basically, we can see this is incomplete or very lacking. So when we get in orange, we get all these nutrients that our body need and recognize. And remember, so this is a match made in heaven when we look at the orange section, because all of these different ingredients, or rather vitamins and minerals, actually come from the orange, and they combine together to give the body what it actually needs ideally. And the pill versus the pill is just has the vitamin C. So out of 2, 4, 6, 8 substances that we get from the orange, when in comparison to the pill, we only get 1.
Philosophy as well, we want to try to get things in from food.
So if it's not the supplements they take which sets them apart, then is knowing which foods are good and which foods are bad what makes a difference.
No carbs, no sugar, no dairy, no refined sugar.
You need to cut bread, less dairy, don't eat cheese that much.
Yes, I am gluten-free since 2010. I'm dairy-free and refined sugar-free.
So why are they doing this?
Dairy is probably one of the ones where just a lot of people have a bit of lactose intolerance that they're not really aware of. And so, if you're intolerant to lactose, then you're going to get some gas and bloating and discomfort.
And not only that, if you're lactose intolerant too, it will give you big pimples. And definitely I'm lactose intolerant, so I had to learn that the hard way. And yeah, it will definitely give you skin issues if you're lactose intolerant, and definitely it could also manage to disturb your your digestion system. So again, he said it can make you feel bloated, but also, you know, there's a saying that if cow milk was made for human being, then we would have just basically been born as a cow, or cow milk is made for the, you know, how you call it, the calf. So just like we wouldn't, our human being wouldn't just basically take a calf and put it next to her breast and to suck on, just like, but as human being, I do understand the reason why sometimes, because a lot of the, in the past or still right now, if a mother have, you know, is going through some health issue, or she cannot manage to feed her newborn, and cow milk is, or milk, animal milk is a good replacement. But that's a different situation. That's as a baby. As a baby, we have the enzymes in our body to actually digest milk. But when we become adult, we have to change. We have to do as adults do. And they say if you drink milk before going to sleep, you're gonna sleep better. Of course, you're gonna sleep better. Of course, is it because of the milk though? Because a lot of the time, when it could be said the milk is used as a bedtime routine. When you have a routine for bedtime, it doesn't matter. It does matter what you add or what you do for during that routine. But milk is something that, if you're not lactose intolerant, or if you are lactose intolerant, and I wouldn't say it's truly a sleep agent, but maybe it's a placebo. It gives you the placebo effect of, okay, I drink milk now, so I'm gonna go to sleep next. So when you do it like this, of course it's gonna work. But let's say if you're trying to fall asleep during the day, or the moment that you wouldn't go to sleep, and you drink milk, would it actually make you go to sleep? That's actually the test of this, you know, how you call it, this theory.
And so taking it out obviously improves that. If you can digest dairy, it's the gold standard protein, right? It's tremendously helpful and beneficial, right? When people talk about gluten, they typically have removed bread. It's not just the gluten in bread, it's the fact that it's highly fermentable. So if your gut already has more quote unquote bad bacteria, you know, if you're stressed, not sleeping a lot, eating a lot of sugars, you're going to have a lot of bacteria in the gut that ferment very well. And so if you add breads on top of that, it's going to create a lot of gas and discomfort.
But while bloating may be about
it gets you bloating,
avoiding foods in your diet, micronutrition is more about what you include. A study on 19 Brazilian footballers revealed what happens when these are missing. 68%.
Yeah, a lot of the time when I hear micronutrition, for some people it could seem like it's an overwhelming, let's say it's a highly complicated term, but what it's actually really stand for is eating natural food. Like, for example, the orange is a micronutrient because they have all the complete nutrients that an orange should provide the body with. So this is the reason why it's just like a lot of the time when you say micronutrients, a lot of the time some people don't really explain what they mean by that, but it's like saying eating things that are naturally healthy for you. And these things are normally come from the ground. These are natural fruits, vegetables, legumes, and all of these things. It's not just a lot of the time people will tend to eat, you know, unhealthy food, and they lack the micronutrients. And over time, we constantly keep changing the words or changing the names to meet the time that we're living in. You know, just like 10 years ago, terms keep changing to fit the current time and to fit the current dialogue that people are having, and, you know, to shape the culture that is actually now happening.
Consumed insufficient magnesium and calcium. 74% lacked vitamin A, and 100% failed to when these are missing. Nutrition is more about what you include. A study on 19 Brazilian footballers revealed what happens when these are missing. 68% consumed insufficient magnesium and calcium, 74% lacked vitamin A, and 100% failed to get enough vitamin D. Vitamin and mineral deficiencies.
How is that? Because in Brazil, isn't it a sunny area?
can impair testosterone,
Maybe.
immunity, and joint and muscle health. One of the reasons Messi hired a nutritionist in 2014. And most top sports clubs have smoothie bars and tons of fruit in their canteens.
Most champions, I think, in the UFC are like 36, 37. So the longer that you can stay in the game and the longer you can, recover.
36, 37 for a highly physical, sport like this, it's crazy though.
The better you're going to be.
Private chefs and nutritionists handle a lot of the complexity, but the 2024 EPL top scorer boils it down to a simple rule.
I try to eat things that's real, with as less ingredients as possible. I think you got so much processed things in this world right now, so I think that's the thing, to eat real.
Meat.
Yeah, it is thing to eat real food, and what's considered real food is, for example, we already had it, which is the orange. Because when you think about it, the more process, step-by-step process your food has to go through before it reaches to your mouth, and a process of making the food more unreal. So a process of taking away the nutrients from the food. So imagine from the very beginning, I was talking about how our food nowadays are becoming less nutritionally filled or nutritionally dense. So let's say back then in our parents' time, let's say, the fruits of an orange used to be more full of nutrients that our body need. But nowadays, 2025, the oranges, the amount of nutrients that it used to have 10 years or during our parents' time is even lower. And when taking that into account and then trying to produce a specific dish where the orange has to be constantly being transformed to something different, during that process of making the dish, of changing the processing of the orange, so the oranges tend to actually lose more nutrients over that process. So the closer it is to the orange, the better it is. Meaning that when you want vitamin C, go for an orange. And if you get the orange, but you're gonna make some, let's say, even if you make juice with it, and during that process of blending it or squeezing it, during that process, a lot of nutrients is already also lost. It depends on the juicing method you are using. Of course, if you're using cold press method, a lot less nutrients are being lost. But again, so when you make the juice out of it, if you're not blending it, if you're squeezing it, you're removing the fibers, because a lot of the fibers are within the within the flesh. So let's say the outer layer of the orange, close to it, is a lot of it is full with different nutrients as well. So again, this is the reason why you want to keep the steps between the fruit or the food to your mouth. There's not much steps or process that it has to go through before it gets to your mouth. So the less process it goes through, the more nutritionally filled it will be, and the less nutrients it will lose.
Fish, veggies, fruit.
But wait.
Okay, so let's go back.
To eat real.
Meat, fish, veggies, fruit.
But wait.
I feel also that a lot of these athletes are saying these things because they wanna, they already have a lot of expectation on them that they are supposed to be very perfect, and a lot of people look at them as being perfect. So within keeping that image, they have to, a lot of the time, they feel the pressure of saying the right thing, or just, basically saying the right thing so they can keep that image.
Didn't we just learn?
Exactly.
He eats cookies, he eats everything.
Exactly. This is just proving what I'm just saying, because I remember just a while ago, just over the weekend, I watched LeBron was having some wine. No, it was beer. But imagine again, he said, these are the things that you could eat. These are the food that he eats, which were all healthy food. But people who are near him, who are close to him, were saying that he eats almost everything that that he didn't mention, cookies, chips, and all of these things. But again, remember now he has a different lifestyle than us, and he's a person that he has to lose a lot of calories. But again, I'm gonna mention again the main reason why for an athlete, for sometimes when they eat food that are generally, if you're not an athlete, that we wouldn't advise you to eat because you're unhealthy, but for them it's serve a different purpose.
We know from the research that dietary recall is really bad, right? And so you'll get somebody's diet on one day, and all of a sudden that becomes what they do every day. We saw this many years ago with Chris Froome in the Tour de France. He posted a picture of a low-carb breakfast, and everybody on the internet went crazy saying, hey, look, this guy's low-carb. That was one meal that he had for a planned and purposeful reason of strategically underfueling that morning. But it wasn't what he eats every day.
While DK Metcalf claimed to run on candy earlier, he stated the opposite to GQ, that he was on a low-carb, vegetable diet. This guy. But the best athletes do include junk food in their diets. Tom Brady mentions in his book how he adjusted his strict approach to include pizza and bacon every now and again, stating, I have a friend who freaks out if it's not the most organic this or that. That stress is going to harm you way more than eating that chippers.
What you don't want to remove in nutrition, and it's easy to do, is the enjoyment of sitting down and having a meal with your friends, with your family, right? We don't want to turn nutrition into a job, because training's hard enough, and being elite at whatever you're trying to do is hard enough, that we want to still keep it fun. And
I think people think of footballers as like a machine where we never have cheat meals or we never do anything bad. That's a false reality.
Yeah. And I would say is really, truly what he's going to say is a false reality. As an athlete, professional athlete like this, like they are, somewhat you get a pass for cheat meals or fast food, because I will definitely mention that. And this is one of the reasons why I say their lives are not just different, but they get passes.
If eating 100% clean was essential to peak athletic performance, why was Usain Bolt demolishing hundreds of chicken nuggets? And how can you explain the current world's fastest man and his favourite snack?
Him right there. Noah Lyles.
Raisin Bran Crunch, a necessity of all necessities.
Things like protein powders can be a real help here, especially if you're trying to build muscle, because you can still enjoy a suboptimal meal, but still tick some of the more important boxes after. I've been using My Protein,
like the stream, guys,
for almost a decade now, and they've kindly agreed to sponsor this video.
Okay, so,
Obviously, if you struggle to hit your daily protein goal, buy chocolate brown meals. So listen to videos like this. Elite athletes don't always stick to a healthy diet. Some go for surprising.
And for example, him, he doesn't stick to a healthy diet. Oh wait, that's not what I meant.
And unhealthy pre-game meals. So let's take a look.
Before a competition for me will be like a chicken.
Elite athletes don't always stick to a healthy diet. Some go for
especially for him. Ocho Cinco, I think his name is. And he's been having a Big Mac or McDonald's for the longest period of time. And this guy, I think he's in his 50s, early 50s or mid 50s now. And this is one of his meals, eating basically burgers or McDonald's, almost everything that he wants. But the thing is, one thing that is not also communicated is that a lot of these athletes, what happened is they live a life of somewhat secrecy, or if not secrecy, but let's put it like they live a life of privacy. Let me put it like this, because a lot of the time you can see, okay, he eats this. We don't know if he's getting a sponsorship. Okay, but basically, if you're getting sponsor from McDonald's to consume this food, or just basically as he's a McDonald's person, might be. But or let's say, for example, he developed a serious health condition. Is he actually gonna bring it to light? Because a lot of the time, whenever we hear what these celebrities or these athletes are going through, is when they either had a stroke or passed away, or when it's actually a huge deal, when it's actually a big problem. That's when we hear about it. But that doesn't mean that's the time that the problem or the health concern actually started. So this is something also we have to really constantly be mindful of, is to ask yourself, okay, is he getting sponsored? Okay, finally I get it, sponsored. Is he getting sponsored by McDonald's to actually talk about their food and just basically continuously eat it? And also, has he developed any health issues, health challenges through to his diet that he's actually not talking about or telling about? Because remember, health is one of the most secretive conversation, or secretive or personal, private, I would say. I don't know why I'm saying secretive, but anyway, you get the point. Private conversation, or conversation that you'll ever have with someone, because not like every day, or unless the person know you for years or the person actually trust you. A lot of the time, most people don't want to share, their health scare or their health concern.
Surprising and unhealthy pre-game meals. So let's take a look.
Before a competition for me would be like a chicken breast and maybe a little pasta. Carbs help because you're going to go out and play a lot of minutes and things of that nature.
It depends on the individual, but typically
I'm not hearing no sugar, no glucose, because athletes need that sugar for energy.
typically athletes are creatures of habit, so they like to have very similar meals before games. For example,
carbohydrate bars, banana, a lot of gels and stuff to get the energy back into your body.
Health is not the same as performance, and it's not the same as body composition. And so, my philosophy is thinking about it like a triangle. Each end of that triangle, you've got health on the top, let's say. On the lower right, you've got performance, and on the lower left, you've got body composition. If you're trying to qualify for the Olympics and it's every 4 years, you're going to really optimize to peak at that time. So you're moving yourself towards that lower right-hand corner for performance, but ultimately it's coming at the sacrifice of your health to a certain degree, because if you talk to any of the Olympians afterwards, they're worn out for weeks, months after the Olympics, right? This is sometimes the misnomer we see in social media or online, this idea of just being optimized 24/7, 365.
For some athletes, this might mean eating candy or hundreds of chicken nuggets.
I was just making sure I had the right food because there was you're in China, so you don't want to eat anything you don't know.
It's not uncommon for athletes to consume pure sugar before competitions.
This is where speed, right? The ability for the food to get it from your mouth through your gut and into the tissue is the limiting factor. And so this is where those simple sugars can be really effective.
But most athletes' pre-game meals are...
All right, because a lot of the time, if a lot of different streams that I've done in the past, I've said to stay away from simple sugar, just carbs. There's complex carbs, and there's simple carbs. And I always say to stay away from the simple carbs. But in this situation, as an athlete, I would say use it for that purpose, because again, as an athlete, they are being paid, or they are competing for is their livelihood. So also what is key again is that your nutrition habits should be connecting or parallel to your lifestyle. It should be a merge. So athletes should eat as an athlete, and depending on what your career is, your job, or your current stand in life, your food, your nutritional configuration should be a complementary to your lifestyle. So again, based on their lifestyle, they cannot have the simple carbs during the on season or during the season when they have to perform. But the off season, that's when they actually have to, try to balance off the scale, because you are seeing the triangle. There was the performance and endurance, and I believe in the health. And the health factor can really go down as you try to get more performance, because for some reason, everything and everything have its time, everything have its use. And if you're not an athlete, definitely you should stay away from the simple carbs, because they're gonna get you bloated. They're not good for you.
Fairly similar.
I love sweet potato, chicken, broccoli, and some vegetables.
Ronaldo often has chicken, broccoli, and rice, while Simone Biles aims for a salad, chicken, and vegetables.
Around a match day, we won't serve red meat generally the night before the game, because it's just too hard to break down.
It depends on your sport.
Yes, exactly.
Depends on the individual, but certainly you're looking to have the bolus of protein, whether it's 20 or 40 grams, and then the amount of carbohydrate will depend really on the athlete, but a decent size of a complex carbohydrate, and then the amount of vegetable or fruit or etc. is really negotiable depending on how they feel and what they like to have before a game.
But there's no way elite athletes end up performing and looking like they do because of nutrient timing. What's more essential is the overall protein, carbs and fats athletes consume.
Protein is really the only thing we can kind of set it and forget it.
American footballers need around 160 to 230 grams of protein a day, according to a study, depending on position and weight. Surprisingly, Premier League players, despite being much smaller, averaged around 205 grams per day, well above UEFA's recommendations. Protein plays a key role in muscle growth and recovery, but it's the insane amount of carbs that some athletes consume that's most surprising.
Then as you get into like a Tour de France rider, on certain rides in the mountains, they might have 15 grams per kilogram per day, right? So like triple what an EPL player would have.
This could be almost 1,000 grams of carbs, based on the recent winner's weight. Lastly, while many people demonize them on social media, athletes typically consume 20 to 35% of their calories from fats for health and vitamin absorption. In Chad Johnson's case, while he is eating a lot of McDonald's, after tracking his diet, you can see it provided him with everything he needed. But while sufficient macronutrients are important, their total energy value is by far the most key part of athlete nutrition. And to say athletes can eat a lot is an understatement.
Calories will vary depending on the individual, depending on how many minutes they're playing. And so with basketball, 4,000 calories.
American footballers consume upwards of 5,000 calories a day, depending on their position and weight, over double that of the average person. While Premier League footballers burn 3,789 calories on match days and 2,956 calories on training days, on average, according to a small study.
As you go into endurance sport, that's when it really cranks up. Like that's when you get to the 6,000, 6,500, because they need to consume lots of fast carbohydrates, which we typically call sugars.
Too few calories can lead to weight loss and poor recovery, while excessive calories.
Yes, this is the reason why also they consume simple carbs, because they are competing during the competition time. They need food that is gonna give them the quick boost of energy. Simple carbs does that. And also that's gonna digest in their stomach very quickly. And also who is carbs that are food that are light as well. Simple carbs are light and they give you a quick boost of energy, doesn't last long. And this is why food is used strategically for athletes. And fat, that doesn't include healthy fats. It could be just any type of fats, but mostly they go for the unhealthy fats because, of course, during the peak performance or the moment of action for them, they are gonna lose a lot of calories. So they need that they need that extra source of fat to actually burn during that moment. And if they don't have it, they will be severely underweight, which will drastically lower their performance.
Can cause fat gain, which isn't always,
and also endurance.
It's bad.
I used an example in peak about Phil Kessel, NHL player, had one of the higher body fats in the team, but tested first in virtually all of the performance categories and missed the fewest amounts of games. And so it becomes this question of, why are we trying to take 2 or 3% body fat on? What is the goal? Is it actually going to help performance? Is it going to help health?
Getting these fundamentals right is how Chad Johnson was still able to perform at a top level despite eating so much McDonald's.
Now listen to me. I did it with no injuries, so you're not going to tell me the way I did it don't work. Because it worked.
And this is what stopped me from ever copying what a particular athlete eats ever again. Because Dr. Bubbs suggests there's one major factor that keeps elite athletes ahead.
And so that's probably a big disconnect between what we see in the general population, which is always chasing after the shiny new toy, right? This herb from the depths of the jungle in some country versus, the real fundamentals.
Podcasts, the media, and most advertising will sensationalize the most shocking and novel parts of athlete diets. And this has most people focusing on the wrong things. It helps to use the analogy of a car.
Because if you don't have enough energy, it's like not having enough gas in the tank. You can't even drive the car far enough. The micronutrition becomes, keeping the engine running well, right? So like to change the oil and to check the engine lights that come on your car, the micronutrition helps to deal with that so that the athlete can stay resilient and adapt well, to their training.
Some cars can run a surprising amount of time without an oil change or with all the engine warning lights flashing.
Look, at the highest level, a lot of this is genetically driven as well. Some athletes are tremendously lean and they don't try at all to be lean, right? And they look like they're on the cover of the magazine and their diets are not very good. Now that catches up as you get into your 30s and 40s.
Or when they retire.
Really
because when you really look at my boy Ronaldinho, he used to be super fit, or well, he used to be fit in some way, but now, or Roberto Carlos, or well, one thing is for sure, Thierry Henry, he's even fitter than he used to be when he was playing football. But still, we can see the upper body part, but we don't see what really lies under the shirt.
That because of their great genes and the fact that they were young, youthful, that was what was really carrying them.
But with increasing
But also, there's a difference between, think about it like this. Imagine an athlete, they've been doing whatever exercise they've been doing or the sport that they've been playing. Let's say, for example, this one, he's a footballer. I don't know what his name
And
is.
the fact that they were young, youthful, that was what was really carrying them.
But with
footballers, from since a young age, they've been playing football. That's all they know and that's all they do. And their entire lives are surrounded of football. So one of the things is they build this body. It said, a lot of people say it's genetics, but genetic is something I see genetic as something that can be changed depending on what you do. Because just like for him as a footballer, for them, they've been playing football ever since they were a child. So their body is built to reflect that sport. And at the same time, of course, they're going to be more leaner, more fit and everything. Just like you, for example, if you start doing a type of sport over time, your body is going to actually develop into that sport. One of the type of sport that actually really show this distinction is, what do you call it again? The gymnastic. You can really see how gymnasts, even especially the ladies, you can see how that sport actually form their body, how they become super muscular. And you can really notice that, okay, this is a gymnast. Whenever you see one of them, you like, even if you in your normal life, if you will see a gymnast or a lady that looks, that has that body type, you will definitely recognize it. So this is one of the things one of the aspects that athletes have over us. And the fact is that their body is formed as the sport they play, and over time they become it is who they are at the end of the day. It's like, for example, I look at him, I'll say he's a footballer, and his body, everything is gonna just be aligned with football.
Increasing competition, nutrition is only becoming more important.
And that's actually the best predictor of success, or separating like national to international level competitors, is just, can you show up day after day, week after week to compete?
This is why small optimizations, when they become a distraction from the fundamentals, can end up causing more harm than good.
Now all of a sudden we've put the cart before the horse there, and we're causing more problems than we're solving. I often think of it like different buckets, right? And so the big buckets are those fundamentals. So if you do really well with them, the water you can put in a big bucket is much more than what you could put in, say, a pint glass. And so when you're chasing these small wins, even if you maximize the very small win, it doesn't yield nearly as much as the fundamentals do. So just like in martial arts, repeat. Once you have a certain level of automation, right, consistency, then you kind of level up to the next belt, add the next layer on. And what I've found over the years is that that's the best way, because then clients, whether you're a professional athlete, a weekend warrior, someone trying to really push themselves, all of a sudden you just start making better decisions, and your worst decision becomes much better, which is actually a really big win.
Please remember this: the next time you see someone on social media pushing a diet based on what athletes eat, elite athletes don't succeed because of niche methods. They excel because they master the fundamentals better than anyone else.
Consistency predicts the outcome.
This video wouldn't have been possible without Dr. Mark Bubbs, and I highly recommend.
All right. So that's about it. Do you have any questions? Anything that you would like for me to talk about? Because right now the show is over. And again, I think the one thing I want to add when it comes to macronutrients, again, it's focusing on the key nutrients that the body needs, the proteins, the fat, and what else? Yeah, basically the nutrients, the key nutrients that the body need, and to get it up to a level that the body actually, feels satisfied. So again, a lot of the time, if you're not an athlete, basically the best thing to do is you can use them as an example, because they are a lot of the time the golden standard for a sport. They are the faces. When you think about basketball, you'll think about a lot of the time, back then people think about Michael Jordan or your favorite basketballer, or whichever sport you prefer. There's someone who actually represent that sport because of their athletic feat or athletic level. But again, there are key things we can actually take from this, is that for them, a lot of the time, what they are saying in public and what they're doing in private is very different. And for sure, the reason they can get a pass is because they are very, very highly engaged physically. And a lot of the time, some people think that they can basically eat just because, let's say, for example, the guy who was eating Skittles or taking energy drink, Red Bull, first thing in the morning when he wakes up, and then before the game. But the thing is, he's preparing for a match, and a lot of these unhelpful nutrients or compounds that he put into his stomach is gonna be burnt out during the match or during the training. So this is one of the things, people have to really keep in mind as well, because an athlete, they are burning a lot of different calories. So I think one of the key things we can really take from this is that whether you're an athlete or not, the best things is to focus on longevity. So using the food that are basically gonna promote not just your athletic fleet or your athletic capabilities, but also gonna be maintaining your lifestyle in the long term. Because again, you don't have to be just like everybody else, you just have to be yourself. And there are a lot of different resources out there. Just because an athlete can eat these doesn't mean that you should make it a habit for you, because again, not only that they have the lifestyle to go with it to help them to burn it, but they have a whole team, and we're not even sure if they are promoting these products, or they are sponsored or spokesperson for these products. So it's ideal that to take your nutrition into your own hands. So I don't know if there's any question, if something that I've said that you didn't agree with or you want to expound on, just mention it in the comment, like the stream, subscribe to the channel. And I want to talk about also the sleeping part, because again, there's training, there's the nutrition, and there's the recovery, which is the sleep. And beyond that, these are the key things that we need to, as human beings, we need to actually have a proper setting, have an order, and as we go through life, trying to, striving for our goals. And this is the key here, that my hope would be that everybody has, good health, of course, not just based on a wish that I would want for everybody, but by engaging in activities that actually, would promote you to actually have that in a way, every morning when you wake up, and every moment of the day, that you don't have to think about your health, the status of it, that you could, it could be that it gives you a form of confidence and a form of peace, inner peace, that you are feeling healthy and you are feeling the way that you're supposed to, and you don't have much worry or any at all when it comes to your health status. And yes, and in turn, that we can live your life more comfortable, and you can be happily doing the things that you actually love without concern for your health. So this was the stream, and as I always say at this time, thank you for watching. Like the stream and like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.